All right, settle in, settle in. Let's see what the next chapter of this story holds. Whoa, okay. This one's different. Look, slight pause. The cover says, 5000 AE, the exiled prophet. But look at the edges. See how they're all singed? The leather is scorched black here, and here it's brittle. This one feels dangerous. Almost as if they tried to burn it from history. Like someone somewhere was so terrified of what was inside that they tried to turn it to ash. Shifting closer. Yeah, exactly. It makes you wonder what could be so powerful that destruction was the only answer they could think of. Let's see. The margins? They're not empty. They're filled with these strange symbols. I've never seen anything like them. They're not letters, not any language I know. They're almost like, well, they look like star charts or maybe complex circuits. Tiny, intricate designs, almost glowing on the page. What was this person trying to record? It's more than just a diary, it's a manual of some kind, a blueprint. Let's see if the first entry gives us any clues. I'll just be careful with it. The pages are so fragile. Here we go. Clears throat. I spoke not for rulers, but for truth. My voice carried codes of freedom. For that, they named me heretic. I saw the chains they wrapped around the hearts of the people. Chains of fear, chains of obedience. I told them no man should kneel to another. That the spark of creation, the fire that forged the stars, burns in us all. Not in kings, not in priests, but in us. For this, they branded me cursed. They called my words poison, when all I offered was the antidote. They said I was a danger to the order of things. And they were right. The order they built was a cage, and I had just handed everyone the key. They silenced him, because he spoke of freedom. Because he told them they were their own masters. Can you imagine? Living in a world where just telling people they have worth, that they have power, is a crime punishable by being erased? That's what they tried to do. They tried to burn this book, to burn his memory. But they failed. He's right here, speaking to us 5,000 years later. Sound of a crackling fire, a page turning slowly. Granddad. Voice is old, wise, and filled with a quiet gravity. All right, let's see what comes next. Entry 4. He calls this one, The False Gods. Reading from the diary, they raised temples not to source, but to rulers disguised as gods. Strong and resonant, echoing slightly as if from the past. They severed you from the source. They built walls of stone and dogma, not to protect you, but to contain you. They made men into idols, demanding you kneel, demanding your coin, your devotion. The pure, flowing current of life, the very thing that connects us all, was hidden away, locked behind cold marble and golden gates. They told you the divine was something outside of you, something you had to pay for, something you had to beg for. A lie. A moment of silence, the fire crackles. Granddad. Reading the next entry, his voice softer, more somber. Entry 5, the prophet exiled. He takes a slow breath before reading. They cast me out. They named me demon. My scrolls they burned. My voice they erased. Hero. Voiceover. A mix of sorrow and unbreakable resolve. But you see, truth is not a thing of paper and ink. It survives. It survives in whispers carried on the wind, in secret symbols carved into stone, in the stories mothers tell their children as they fall asleep. Stories of freedom, of what it means to be truly alive. You cannot burn what lives in the soul. You can tear the pages, you can smash the tablets, but you can never, ever extinguish the light that burns within a heart that remembers. The silence that follows is heavier, filled with unspoken emotion. Granddad. His voice now low, almost a whisper, as if sharing a dangerous secret. The last entry for this chapter. The warning for future ages. Reading with deliberate weight. Know this, each reset comes with inversion. A great turning upside down. They will call your light darkness. Your freedom, they will name it rebellion. And your truth, They will call it madness. Hero. Voiceover, urgent and direct, as if speaking across time to the listener. So do not fear when they point their fingers. Do not falter when they call you wicked for simply speaking what you know to be true in your very core. This is their oldest, most tired trick. The desperate act of those who rule through shadow and fear. It is the signature of the Archons. A long, contemplative pause. The crackle of the fire is the only sound. Then a small, clear voice breaks the silence. Child. Granddad, are we living in that inversion? Now? The sound of the diary closing, slow and deliberate. The fire crackles into silence. Granddad's voice, aged but clear, reading from an ancient text. A sense of awe and discovery in his tone. Entry 2, the inversion. The text says, they needed a villain. And so they took the light bearer and dressed him in horns. The hero's voice, ancient, resonant, and filled with a deep, sorrowful wisdom. Imagine this voice echoing through time. I was cast as the shadow. It was the simplest way to seize control. They took everything I represented. Knowledge, enlightenment, the very idea of questioning what you're told. And they twisted it. They pointed at the sun and called it darkness. They whispered to the world that the bringer of light was, in fact, evil. They inverted the code, the fundamental programming of your reality. They taught you to fear the light, not seek it. They taught fear, not freedom. Back to the family's room. The air is thick with shock. Granddad looks up from the text, his eyes wide, reflecting the gravity of what he's just read. My God, they made the truth. The enemy! They turned the very concept of enlightenment into something to be demonized. Another page turns, the sound crisp and significant. Entry 3, the control of fear. Granddad continues reading, his voice now lower, more conspiratorial. Fear was their altar. They built their new world on it. They told the masses of a fire that burns below, of chains that last for an eternity, of punishment so terrible they could only be imagined, never seen. The hero's voice returns, layered with the weariness of millennia. Once they had a villain, they needed a prison. But a physical prison can be escaped, so they carved cages inside the mind. They used stories, threats of eternal damnation, to build walls you could never see, but would never dare to cross. Fear became their law, and your obedience, your unquestioning loyalty born from that terror, that became their harvest. It was the most powerful form of control ever devised. A final heavy silence hangs in the air. We hear the mother's voice, barely a whisper, filled with dawning, horrifying realization. This is how it all began. This is how control really began.